The explosion sound deafened her ears. Dirt and smoke erupted into the air. Blood was gushing from her left leg. Mine. But the sound wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the silence that followed. She heard the team leader yelling, "Pull back." Now, footsteps faded away. They were abandoned. For wounded soldiers, in the middle of a minefield. The woman raised her head. Her leg was unusable. But she made a calculation. Mines are placed in specific patterns. The way back is safe. But she would have to crawl. 1 meter. Then another meter. For 4 hours. Losing blood. Because she knew that the team that abandoned her was now running toward an enemy ambush. 3 hours later, when she grabbed the radio, her voice was shaking. "This is Bravo 7. Your position is wrong. Stop." Those who left her would owe her their lives. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Veteran Stories so you never miss these extraordinary tales of courage under fire. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? Her name was Sergeant First Class Alina Cross, though in that moment, lying in Afghan dirt with shrapnel in her leg, names didn't matter much. What mattered was the mathematics of survival. She was 29 years old, combat engineer, explosive ordnance disposal specialist, 6 years in the Army, 3 deployments. She knew mines, knew how they were placed, knew their patterns, knew their logic. And right now, that knowledge was the only thing keeping her alive. The patrol had been routine until it wasn't. 12 soldiers moving through a valley that intelligence said was clear. Alina was third in the column, behind Staff Sergeant Marcus Reed, the patrol leader, and Specialist Josh Hamilton. Behind her were Corporal David Chun, Private First Class Emma Stone, and 7 others. They'd been moving for 2 hours. The morning sun was brutal. Everyone was tired. That's when mistakes happen. When the fatigue makes you careless. When you stop checking every step. Hamilton triggered the first mine. An old Soviet PMN-2. Pressure activated. The blast threw him backward. Alina dove left instinctively. Chin and Stone went right. Hamilton was screaming. His leg was gone below the knee. Alina crawled toward him, her training overriding her fear. Then the second mine detonated. This one caught Alina's left leg and Chin's right arm. Stone took shrapnel in her side. The screaming multiplied. For wounded in a minefield. The worst-case scenario. Every combat engineer's nightmare. Reed's voice cut through the chaos. Everyone freeze. Nobody moved. The rest of the patrol, positioned behind them, stopped. Reed was doing the math. For wounded. Unknown number of remaining mines. No clear path forward or back. The standard protocol in a minefield accident is to retrace your exact steps. But with wounded soldiers bleeding out, time was the enemy. Reed made a decision. A terrible decision. A decision that would haunt him. Able team, mark the path and pull back to safe ground. We'll call in medevac and EOD. Sergeant, we can't leave them, someone said. Private Lucas Grant, barely 20 years old, his voice cracking. Reed's face was stone. We don't have a choice. If we stay, more people die. We mark the path. We get help. We come back. He keyed his radio. Viper 6, this is Bravo 7 actual. We have 4 wounded in confirmed minefield. Requesting immediate medevac and EOD support. Over. But here's the thing about medevac in hostile territory. It's not immediate. The helicopter has to be scrambled. The route has to be cleared. The landing zone has to be secured. Even in best conditions, it's 30 minutes. In this region, with known enemy activity, it could be an hour or more. And 4 wounded soldiers don't have an hour. Not with arterial bleeding. Not with shock setting in. Not in 110-degree heat. Alina heard Reed giving orders. Heard boots moving away. Heard Hamilton crying. She looked at her own leg. The shrapnel had torn through her calf muscle. Blood was pooling beneath her. Not arterial, thank God, but bad enough. She pulled her belt off, wrapped it above the wound, cinched it tight. Field tourniquet. It would buy time. She looked at Chun. He was conscious, holding his mangled arm, his face pale. Stone was on her side, breathing shallow. Hamilton had stopped screaming. Either shock or death. She couldn't tell from this distance. Alina, Chun said quietly. They're leaving us. She nodded. I know. We're gonna die here. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the fear. Saw the resignation. No, she said. We're not. Her voice was steady. Calmer than she felt. Listen to me. We're getting out of this. Let's pause here. Because what happened next wasn't bravery in the Hollywood sense. It wasn't charging into fire or dramatic speeches. It was something harder. It was calculation under pressure. It was using knowledge when your body was screaming to panic. Alina was an EOD specialist. She'd cleared hundreds of mines, studied their placement patterns, knew that mine layers followed specific logic. Mines aren't random. They're placed to channel movement, to create kill zones, to maximize casualties. And if you understand the logic, you can sometimes find the gaps. She scanned the ground, looked at where the two mines had detonated, tried to reconstruct the field in her mind. Old Soviet mines in Afghanistan were usually placed in linear patterns along likely approach routes. The spacing was typically 2 to 3 meters. The patrol had been moving along a livestock trail, which meant the mines were probably positioned parallel to the trail. Hamilton and she had triggered mines about 4 meters apart. That suggested a line, which meant the area between and behind them might be clear. "Chun," she said, "how's your mobility?" He gritted his teeth. "Arms gone. But I can move." "Stone." No response. Alina called louder. "Stone." A weak voice. "Here." Can't breathe right. Punctured lung, maybe. Or broken ribs. Either way, bad. "Hamilton." Nothing. Alina made herself look. Hamilton wasn't moving. The bleeding had stopped. That wasn't good. That meant his heart had stopped. He was gone. 3 wounded. 1 dead. And the team was gone. Alina could see them in the distance now, marking their path with engineer tape, calling in coordinates, doing everything by the book, except they'd left 4 soldiers behind. Reed would tell himself it was the right call, would tell himself he saved 8 soldiers by pulling them back, would tell himself there was no other option. And maybe he was right. Or maybe he was just scared. Alina didn't have time to judge. She had work to do. "Chun, we're going to move. Slowly. 1 meter at a time. I'm going to chart the path. You follow exactly where I crawl. Exactly. Don't deviate even an inch." "Understood." Chun nodded. His face was gray. Shock was setting in. "What about Stone?" Alina looked at Stone. 20 meters away. Between them was unknown ground. Maybe clear. Maybe mined. "We'll come back for her. But first we have to get ourselves out. Then we can help her." But wait. Because this is where it gets harder. Stone was 22 years old. Had a little brother in high school who wrote her letters every week. Had a boyfriend back home planning to propose when she got back. Had a mother who'd made Alina promise to keep her daughter safe. And Alina was about to crawl away from her. Was about to prioritize her own survival. Was about to make the same calculation Reed had made. It felt like betrayal. But it was also the only rational choice. You can't save anyone if you die trying. Alina began to crawl. Her left leg was useless, dragging behind her. She used her arms and her right leg. 1 pull. Check the ground ahead. Look for disturbed soil, for wires, for pressure plates. 1 more pull. Check again. The pain was extraordinary. Every movement sent fire up her leg. Sweat poured into her eyes. Her hands were shaking. But she kept moving. 1 meter. 2 meters. 3 meters. Each meter was a victory. Each meter was survival. Behind her, Chin followed. She could hear his breathing. Ragged. Desperate. But he was moving. That was enough. 5 meters. 6 meters. She glanced back at Stone. Still alive. Still breathing. Still waiting. Hang on, Alina thought. Just hang on. 10 meters. 15 meters. The marked path the team had used was ahead. She could see the orange engineer tape. 20 meters away. Might as well have been 20 miles. Her arms were giving out. Her vision was blurring. Blood loss. Dehydration. Shock. All of it catching up. She stopped. Breathed. Forced herself to think clearly. Chin crawled up beside her. "I can't," he said. "I can't do this." She looked at him. "Yes, you can. We're almost there." "My arm. I can barely move." "Then move with what you have. We're not dying here, Chun. We're not giving them that satisfaction." She gestured vaguely toward where the team had retreated. "The ones who left us. We're going to walk out of here. We're going to survive. And then we're going to save their lives. Because they're about to walk into something worse than mines." Chin blinked. "What do you mean?" Alina had been thinking about it. The patrol's route. The coordinates Reed had given over the radio. The direction they were heading. They're going northeast. Toward the extract point. But that valley is a known ambush site. Intelligence flagged it last week. Reed either forgot or decided to risk it. Either way, they're walking into a kill zone. Chen stared at her. And you're going to warn them? After they left us? Alina didn't answer immediately. She thought about it. About justice. About revenge. About the easy, satisfying feeling of letting bad decisions have consequences. Then she thought about Grant, 20 years old, scared, following orders. About the other soldiers who'd had no say in Reed's decision. About what it meant to wear the uniform. Yes, she said finally. I'm going to warn them. Here's something crucial about character that most people don't understand. It's not tested when things are going well. It's tested when you have every reason to walk away. When betrayal has earned your abandonment. When revenge would be justified. Alina had been left to die. Had every reason to let Reed and his bad decisions lead him into disaster. But she was better than that. Better than him. Better than the worst moment. And that's what would separate her from him. Not skill. Not rank. Character. 25 meters. 30 meters. She reached the marked path. Safe ground. She collapsed. Breathed. Checked her leg. The tourniquet was holding. She was still losing blood, but slower. Chen reached her a minute later. He was barely conscious. We made it, he whispered. Not yet, she said. She pulled out her radio. It had taken damage. The screen was cracked. But it powered on. She keyed the mic static. She tried again. Bravo, 7, this is Cross. Do you copy? More static. Then, finally, Reed's voice. Strained. Surprised. Cross. You're alive. Yeah, barely. Listen carefully. Your route is wrong. You're heading into the northern valley. That's a known ambush site. Change bearing to east. Go around the ridge. Silence. Then, Cross, we can't. You will, she cut him off. You left us. That's done. But I'm not letting you get the rest killed because you're too proud to change course. Turn east. Now. Another pause. She could hear voices in the background. Argument. Then read again. Copy. Turning east. Cross. Save it, she said. Just get them home safe. She turned off the radio. Looked at Chun. Now we wait for medevac. And we go back for Stone. The helicopter arrived 43 minutes later. By then, Alina had crawled back into the minefield. Had found Stone. Had dragged her to safe ground. Stone was barely breathing. Hypothermic despite the heat. Shock had shut down her body. But she was alive. The medevac crew stared at Alina like she was a ghost. Ma'am, you crawled out of a minefield? On one leg. She shrugged. Didn't have much choice. At the field hospital, surgeons saved her leg. Barely. She'd lost 40% of her blood volume. Had been in shock for hours. Should have died. Didn't. Chen lost his arm but survived. Stone pulled through after 2 surgeries. Hamilton's body was recovered 3 days later after EOD cleared the field. Alina didn't attend his memorial. Couldn't. She was still in recovery. But she thought about him every day. Reed came to see her in the hospital. Stood in her doorway like he couldn't quite force himself to enter. I made a call, he said. Thought it was the right one. Alina looked at him. You left us. I saved 8 soldiers. You abandoned 4. He had no answer. They stared at each other. Finally, Alina said, You changed course. When I radioed. You could have ignored me. Reed nodded. Yeah. We would have walked into an ambush. 12 Taliban fighters. Intel confirmed it after. They were waiting for us. If we hadn't turned. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. You saved us, he said quietly. After everything. You saved us. Alina closed her eyes. I didn't do it for you. I know. He turned to leave. Then stopped. For what it's worth. I'm sorry. It was the wrong call. I know that now. She didn't respond. After he left, she cried. Not from pain. From release. From the weight of carrying people who didn't carry her. From the exhaustion of being better than the situation demanded. But also from something else. From knowing she'd done the right thing. Even when the right thing wasn't fair. Even when it wasn't deserved. Even when no one would have blamed her for choosing differently. 6 months later, at a ceremony she didn't want to attend, Alina received the Soldier's Medal. The citation read, For extraordinary heroism not involving actual conflict with an enemy. Sergeant Cross displayed remarkable courage and selfless service by navigating a hostile minefield while severely wounded, rescuing fellow soldiers, and preventing casualties through decisive action under extreme duress. The general pinning the medal to her chest looked her in the eye. "You exemplify the best of what we are," he said. Reed was in the audience, sitting in the back. When Alina's eyes found him, he stood. Not for applause. Just stood, trying to give her something. Respect, maybe. Or acknowledgement. Or the weight he'd carry forever. After the ceremony, young soldiers asked her questions. How did you stay calm? How did you navigate the mines? How did you make the decision to go back? She told them the truth. I didn't feel calm. I felt terrified. Every inch I crawled, I thought I'd die. But I also knew that panic kills faster than mines. So I used what I knew. I trusted my training. And when the moment came to warn the team, that left me. She paused. I thought about what kind of soldier I wanted to be. Not what they deserved. What I deserved. To live with my choices. And I couldn't live with letting them die. One young private, fresh-faced and earnest, asked, "But wasn't it unfair? That you saved them after they abandoned you?" Alina smiled. Sad and wise. Yeah, it was unfair. Most of heroism is unfair. You don't get to choose when courage is required. You don't get to choose whether the people you save deserve it. You only get to choose whether you act. And when I was lying in that minefield, bleeding, abandoned, I had two paths. Let anger decide my actions. Or let principle decide. I chose principle. Not because they earned it, but because I needed to live with myself. So what's the moral here? Maybe it's this. True character reveals itself not in moments of glory, but in moments of betrayal. When you've been wronged. When you're justified in walking away. When no one would blame you for choosing yourself. That's when you discover who you really are. Alina Cross was left to die, and she crawled out of hell and saved the people who abandoned her. Not because they deserved it, but because she was better than the worst thing that happened to her. And in a world that often rewards bitterness and retribution, maybe that's the most radical thing you can be. Better.